It's the month of June. We've got this offseason topic and that offseason rankings and all that and where this quarterback stacks up in this league. But I'm going to give you 3 reasons why Nico is going to be successful for Tennessee in 2024. Just 3 reasons. That and a whole lot more. It's your Monday at Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into a new week of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Appreciate you guys for subscribing to us for free on the YouTube channel so we can get this in front of more and more Tennessee fans. And, of course, listening to us, downloading us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Eric Cain. Appreciate you everydayers for making this a part of your weekly routine, your morning routine. And tomorrow's your show, so any questions, comments, concerns you guys may have, let's get those in there for tomorrow's mailbag edition of the show. Recording this before Game 3, the pivotal Game 3 of the Super Regional here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Evansville. I understand that might frustrate some people because you want some instant analysis Monday morning on Locked On Vols, and I encourage you to check out all my reaction from Sunday night over at volquest.com. It's just, I mean, it's tough, guys. The game starts at 6. I won't be leaving Lindsey Nelson Stadium until at least midnight if there's no weather delays, and it's just not feasible for me to get that worked into a Monday show. So I do apologize. I really do. But trust me, win or lose, there's going to be a whole lot to talk about either way, and we'll get into a baseball topic for Tony Vitello's club on Tuesday's show, no doubt. I promise you that. Plus, some transfer portal visitors from over the weekend. How did they fare here in Knoxville? That's coming up later on. But today's show, 3 reasons why Nico will succeed in 2024. That's in segment 1, SEC transfer portal net rankings from over there at CBS Sports. An interesting article. We're going to go over and where Tennessee stacks up in terms of the transfer portal offseason. And then a lot of you guys are asking about, is this player here? Is this player on campus? Summer enrollees have officially returned to campus. Who is on campus right now? And a little bit over the recruiting weekend for football. All that and more here on a Monday at Locked On Vols. All right, so again, I kind of wanted to get in this because I saw an article about these second-year quarterbacks are going to take a leap, or these second-year starters are going to take a leap, and SEC quarterback power rankings and all that, and we've gone over some of those here on the show, and that's fun, but I want to give you 3 reasons why I think Nico Iamaleava is going to succeed in 2024. And this is more than just the powerful arm. This is more than just a smart kid in between the ears, right, in this Josh Heupel offense. This is more than the attributes that got him to be a number 1 overall recruit for the class of 2023 and a 5-star quarterback. This is kind of different from those things you'll see, throwing to receivers. You're like, oh, that guy's got some spin. He's got a great high release, tight spiral, all that type of stuff. My reasons are a little bit, it's with all that, but it's a little bit different. So reason number 1 that I think Nico Iamaleava is going to succeed tremendously at Tennessee this football season in 2024, this fall, is because he is so good off platform. Football is not perfect, okay? When you call a play, very rarely, or not very rarely, but over the course of a game, say you run 90 plays, your play is not going to work out to a T. Your play is not going to work out perfectly all 90 of those play calls. You're going to get a blitzer off the edge. You're going to have a guy miss a block in front of you. You're going to have a receiver run the wrong route. You're going to have a running back go the wrong direction. You're going to have a running back miss a block. Whatever the case is, you're going to have a quarterback miss a throw. You're going to have the quarterback make the wrong read. That's football, right? And you got to tip your cap to the defenders for making that happen. But why I think Nico is going to be so successful is because when those things go awry, he is so good off platform. What do I mean by off platform? Being evaded from the pockets, having to step laterally to shield defenders, running to the sideline, making throws on the run, pocket presence, awareness, shuffling up and back. I mean, all that type of stuff is kind of getting off platform. And when you have to especially leave the pocket, can you still make the plays down the field? Joe Milton was not a very good quarterback off platform. The Kentucky game, he had a really good game. That throw to Dante Thornton that was for a gain of about 60 yards or something, or 40 yards, whatever it was. That was a really, really nice off-platform throw. That was probably, in my opinion, one of his better throws of the year. Of course, the touchdown to Squirrel White at Alabama comes to mind. The touch pass to McCowan Castles, that was Alabama as well. That comes to mind. But that was one of Joe Milton's better throws, in my opinion. That was off platform. But Joe Milton wasn't a very good quarterback off platform. So, if all goes well, you want everything to be structured in the pockets and a clean pocket to throw from, and except if it's a design bootleg or rollout or whatever that is. But that's not always how things go. So being able to effectively keep your eyes downfield, keep the play alive, and being able to have something positive come out of a play that forces you out of the pocket is, I think, something that Nico really, really excels at. So that's one of my big reasons why, my first reason why I think Nico is going to be successful in 2024. Now, my second reason, again, this is going, you're coupling everything that makes him the number one overall quarterback prospect in 2023. I'm just adding to it. So, of course, the arm attributes, all that type of stuff, the knowledge, the skill. My second reason kind of goes hand in hand with the first reason. Off-platform throws, because you have great legs, your running ability. And when I say running ability, I don't necessarily mean Michael Vick tucking and run, go get 70 yards, lead the team in rushing. That'd be great. I'll take that from Nico. But more or less what I'm talking about is his escapability, his ability to extend plays and get off platform. But also, Tennessee can call some quarterback design runs. They didn't do it a whole lot for Joe. They didn't do it hardly at all for Joe Milton. Hardly at all. They didn't do it hardly at all for Hendon Hooker. However, at points in times to win some games, some big time games, especially Florida comes to mind, Alabama a couple of times comes to mind. They did have some quarterback design runs, and you saw Nico score 2 touchdowns against Iowa in the Citrus Bowl on 2 quarterback design runs. He scored a third one on the ground as well. That was off platform. That was improvised, and that was him doing good things. But 2 of those touchdowns, the first 2, if memory serves me correct, was him tucking and running it, taking advantage of a 10th man that could be his lead blocker, and utilizing every man on the field to go and run the football. Because think about this: typically when you run the football, you have 9 men blocking, the 10th is carrying the ball. Quarterback's just not really doing anything but handing the ball off. You call a quarterback design run, you get an extra blocker. And I think Nico's ability to run between the tackles and his ability to follow the lead blockers and get something, move the chains and sometimes even get into the end zone, I think is something Tennessee can utilize in 2024. But the question is, how much will they call in terms of design runs? Because you look behind him, you got Gasson Moore, and then, you got Jake Merklinger. I don't think Tennessee ever wants to have those guys be an extended stay at quarterback in 2024, and I think you might be in trouble if that were to be the case. Now, I'm not talking about a helmet popping off here, or you come in here for a drive or whatever. Football's a contact sport, and you hope that those guys can get up and ready to roll and serve this team if needed. But, just like with Joe last year, you had Nico, don't get me wrong, Nico in the bowl game too, but, you don't have a whole lot of depth behind you. So I'm curious to see how much design run plays they'll call for Nico, but I think they should, because Nico has that ability, and you saw that against a really, really good rush defense in Iowa, a team that allowed only 4 rushing touchdowns all year long, and Nico, from the quarterback position, carved him up for 3 in the Citrus Bowl. So number 2, his running ability. Number 3, he redshirted last year. He sat back and watched. Sure, it's time and money. In the NFL draft, you draft these guys in the first round. It is an investment. You got to get these guys on the field as quickly as you can, even though it's not really the best for them and probably not the best for the team. There's that as well in the college game. We'll see what Lagway does at Florida this year when they have an established guy in front of him. But with the coaching staff's jobs on the line and Billy Napier, we'll see how quickly they go to their star, freshman 5-star quarterback. But for Nico, he did sit back and watch. He did hold a clipboard. He did help Joe prepare between drives, help Joe prepare at halftime, help Joe prepare going into games. He was preparing himself, but also he was kind of that sponge and just soaking up all that knowledge and watching and learning. And people make fun of this all the time because I think Butch Jones said it, but guys, I promise you, this is a part of football, and this is certainly a part of football practices. Mental reps are very much a thing. Are they as effective at getting live reps? Absolutely not, but mental reps are definitely a thing. Being able to sit back behind your quarterback whenever he's doing a team drill in practice and visualizing yourself in that situation and what you would do, that is very beneficial. And Nico got a whole year of those. So the fact that he was able to sit back, watch, learn, ask questions, not be forced in there when he wasn't ready, I think Nico's going to benefit from that a whole lot. And so you couple these three reasons why I think Nico's going to be successful: off-platform throwing, his running ability, and the fact that he set back last year in redshirt. And you couple all those things with his natural playmaking ability, his arm strength, his accuracy, his knowledge between the ears, all that type of stuff, and you put it together, and I think Nico's going to be a really, really good story and a really, really good quarterback for Tennessee in 2024. That's my opinion. Give me your three reasons why. Maybe I'll make it a part of the mailbag show that's coming up tomorrow at _Cainer, at Locked On Vols, and of course you can always subscribe and leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. Dive in those DMs if you're able, and I will answer those questions and bring them on to the show. All right, SEC transfer portal net rankings. How did Tennessee fare stacked up against some of the other teams in the SEC in the transfer portal this offseason? That's coming up next as we continue on here with a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just like any other job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're truly looking in the wrong place. 86% of small businesses get qualified candidates within 24 hours, and 2.5 million businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. So if you're not, why aren't you? You can hire professionals like a professional when using LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. All right, stumbled across an interesting article over at CBS Sports over the weekend, and I thought I'd bring it on the show and we can react to it. It was the College Football Transfer Portal 2024. Net ratings and player totals for every Power 4 team. It's written by Brandon Marcello, and again, it was over at CBSSports.com from over the weekend. He goes through all the Power 4 conferences, and he kind of gives the net rating gain, which means what you lost, what you brought in. They kind of have a formula, and here's your rating. They take into account how much you lost. They take into account how much you brought in, numbers-wise and all that. And then it sees how it stacks up against other teams in your conference. And so if you scroll down here to the SEC transfer portal recap, Tennessee comes in at number 3. Tennessee comes in at number 3 with a 2.94 net rating gain, according to CBS Sports. So the average transfer rating that Tennessee got was an 89.63. That is third behind Missouri's 88.93 and Texas's 90.73. Tennessee had 9 transfers that came in to the program. Tennessee had 15 guys who left the program. And of course, this is also counting walk-ons and players who were not on scholarship. So you see a lot of these numbers here. You're like, oh my goodness. Like for Texas, they had 25 players that left the program. Not all 25 players are on scholarship, right? So the numbers are a little inflated a little bit. But in case you're wondering where Tennessee stacks up, Tennessee's third again behind Missouri at number 2. Texas at number 1. Tennessee at third is in front of Ole Miss at 4. Georgia at 5. Kentucky at 6. South Carolina at 7. LSU at 8. Auburn at 9. Florida at 10. Texas A&M at 12, Oklahoma at number 13, Mississippi State at 14, Vanderbilt at 15, and Alabama at number 16. Alabama had 40 players, again, walk-ons included, 40 players who transferred out of the program, of course, following Nick Saban's retirement, and Kellen DeBoer brought in 15 players via the transfer portal. A couple of these little bullet points underneath, some of these key takeaways for Tennessee. It says, most of Tennessee's departures were backups, thus the gigantic uptick in quality score. So I agree with a lot of that, but Tennessee didn't lose just all backups. Okay, let's go back and look at the movement via the transfer portal for Tennessee. Well, Christian Conyer, he transferred out of the program. He was a backup, so that's one. You got Tommy Winton III coming in from ETSU. He's a walk-on. Let's see here. Elijah Herring transferred out. He was a starter. So I'm not going to say that he was a backup. He was a starter. Jackson Moy comes in. Lance Hurd comes in. Brandon Turnage goes out. He was considered a backup. That's 2. Tyler Barron leaves. He was definitely not a backup. Miles Kitselman's in. Gerald Mincey is out. He was a starter, so he's not a backup. Jalen McMurray in. Tamarian McDonald was out, and he was not a backup. Wesley Walker is out. He was not a backup. Deshaun Rucker is out. He was a backup. That's 3 backups leaving the program. Chris Brazel in. Jamal McCoy in. Addison Nichols is out. He was a backup. Jack Luttrell out. He was a backup. Jacoby Thomas is in. Holden Stays is in. Danico Slaughter is out. He was not a backup. Maurice Clipper was out. He was a backup. And then Warren Burrell out. He was a backup. So 7 of Tennessee's 15 guys who left via the transfer portal were backups. Okay, so that makes some sense. But Tennessee did lose some production. I mean, we can say we don't like these players, and that's fine, but you can't deny that they were productive while at Tennessee. Guys like Elijah Herring, who, again, has a lot of room to grow, and I think he's going to get a whole lot better. He leaves and he goes to Memphis, and I think he's going to flourish there. But more than anything, Elijah was the leading tackler for Tennessee last year, so you can't deny that production, right? He was productive. Brandon Turnage did some things for Tennessee. He was a spot starter the last couple of years. Tyler Barron had 6.5 sacks last year. He was very productive. He had his best year at Tennessee and his best year in college baseball, where my mind's at. College football last year. Very productive. Gerald Mincey has been a 2-year starter at Tennessee. Very productive. He leaves the program. I'm not saying that he's great, but productive. Tamarian McDonald, Wesley Walker, they started many, many games in the defensive secondary. Both those guys are gone. Danico Slaughter was a starter cornerback much of the last 2 seasons, even though he played all last season hurt. But productive at times. So Tennessee did lose some production, but what you bring in, I think, is going to trump that. I truly do. Jackson Moy, he'll play in 2024, don't get me wrong, but he's going to be a dude in 2025. Lance Hurd could be one of the better offensive tackles in the SEC, in my opinion. We just don't know it yet because he hadn't played. Much like Nico, highly rated prospect, 5-star, the number 1 overall signee for LSU in 2023 before transferring to Tennessee. Why did he transfer to Tennessee? Well, he got 2 offensive tackles, veteran offensive tackles that are playing in front of him, and we're not leaving. One of which is probably going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He just wants to play. I think Lance Hurd's going to be really, really good. Miles Kitselman, I think, is going to be a whole lot more involved in this offense than anybody, myself included, initially thought when he came over from Alabama. Let's see, a couple of these other ones that are going to be impacts. Chris Brazel can be a big-time impact player on this football team in year 1, potentially, depending on how big that wide receiver rotation is and how much he takes advantage of his opportunities. Jamal McCoy, I think, is going to be a stud, and I think he's going to be a day 1 starter at cornerback, freshman All-American over there at Oregon State. I think he's going to be really, really good. Jacoby Thomas, I think, is going to play a lot. Will he start day 1? I don't know, but he's experienced. It's not at this level, but he is experienced. He does have plenty of power. He does have plenty of college football games under his belt. Holden Stays, I think, is going to be a really, really good fit. Did a lot at Notre Dame, but I think in this system, he's going to be able to be, again, just nature of the position, right? Kind of the key that makes it all go at the tight end position. And, yeah, those are kind of the highlights of Tennessee's, transfers coming in. So, this doesn't shock me at all. 7 of the 15 players that transferred out for Tennessee were backup players, not even counting the walk-ons. Again, that number's a little bit inflated. And then the players that, came in, I think are going to be impact players for the most part, starting from day 1. A couple of the other bullet points that this article highlights. Texas lost its top 5 wide receivers from last season's run to the college football playoff, but add veteran Alabama receiver Isaiah Bond, an Iron Bowl hero who caught the game-winning touchdown against Auburn. Let's see here. How deep is Georgia? 20 of the 24 departures in the portal landed at power programs, yet the Bulldogs' quality actually jumped in the ratings department with 10 additions. Running back Trevor Etienne jumping from Florida was a fantastic transaction. Absolutely. He's going to run really, really well, in my opinion, behind that offensive line for Georgia. One other one I'll read here. This is interesting. No SEC school experienced more attrition in the portal than Alabama. It's not a surprise after Nick Saban's shocking retirement. The Tide countered 40 portal departures with 15 newcomers, and though Kellen DeBoer owns the SEC's only negative net rating in the portal, he added several stars that will immediately help in the secondary, and also lost and regained the second best player in the transfer portal, Caden Proctor. So for Alabama's rating, Caden Proctor's departure is counted in that, and then his addition is also counted in that. So shouldn't that just nullify itself? Shouldn't that just kind of break even? That would be in my opinion, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But when you're thinking about who had the best offseason via the transfer portal, the first window, the second window where Tennessee didn't really do anything, but the first window where it was very active, according to this article, CBS Sports, Tennessee had the third best cycle in the transfer portal out of the SEC, only behind Texas and only behind Missouri. So, again, Josh Heupel's done a really, really nice job with this evaluation, development, and having guys come in and be implemented into the offensive scheme and defensive scheme since he has been Tennessee's head coach. All right, when we come back, I'm going to tell you about summer enrollees, who's on campus, who are some names we're going to start hearing from, and who were some of those names that were on campus over the weekend for the recruiting weekend. That is coming up as we continue on here with a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook, and it is summertime, and summertime means baseball. It means the NBA Finals and more. It means the Stanley Cup Finals, and you can bet it all over on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $200 that you can use to bet on anything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit a home run out of the ballpark. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and win big to your summer bucket list. New customers, $200 in bonus bets. That is $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You can do it all right now over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook. Go check it out over at FanDuel.com. All right, guys, got a couple more minutes left here on this Monday edition of Locked On Vols. And don't forget, tomorrow on Tuesday, I'm going to have plenty of baseball coverage because either way, Tennessee going to the College World Series for the third time in 4 years would be something to talk about, or Tennessee losing in Game 3 to Evansville, formerly a number 4 seed. It's obviously something to talk about, and that would be the second time in 3 years as the #1 overall seed. Tennessee would have not advanced to the College World Series. So again, recording this before Sunday's decisive Game 3 because I'd be working until 3 in the morning, guys, and I just can't do that. So I do apologize. I know it's frustrating, and I don't like it either. I've had some people reach out to me and tell me that, and I get it. I do. Trust me, I get it, but I just not going to happen. So Tuesday, regardless, we're going to have plenty to talk about in terms of baseball. But what I do want to talk about here in this segment as we kind of close the door here, a couple of different people have reached out to me wanting to know about this player, that player, that player. Well, hey, we haven't heard anything about this player. Well, it's because they haven't been on campus. They didn't go through spring practice, and they're not in the strength and conditioning program. Well, all that's changed because Tennessee's 2024 recruiting class should all be here by now, right? You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players from the class of 2024 who have joined Tennessee for summer conditioning. Summer classes, they began last week. I believe it was on Thursday. And once summer classes are in session, these players who stayed in high school, through the length of their, senior season, graduated, now they can come in and now they can be a part of what's going on at Tennessee right now. And those players include Jordan Ross, Bennett Warren, Jordan Burns, Jeremiah Hurd, Cole Harrison, Colin Brazel, Carson Gentle, and junior college transfer Jamal Wallace. All these players, I think, are behind the 8-ball for right now, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to be behind the 8-ball, but it's just nature of the beast because they weren't here in January. They weren't here in January. They weren't here for all that, so they're behind the 8-ball a little bit. So if we're talking about immediate impacts, if we're talking about immediate production in the fall, maybe from this group of players, that's a bit unrealistic, but we've seen stranger things. Jordan Ross, the guy that people are asking about a lot right now, 5-star edge prospect, coming in to play that Leo position. He was a 5-star in both the On3 industry rankings and the On3 rankings. 6'5", 233 pounds, number 7 overall player in the 2024 class from the On3 rankings. The number 1 edge rusher, number 2 player out of the state of Alabama. Really, really good player. Now, he's on campus, and he's jumping into a room with James Pierce, with Joshua Josephs, with Caleb Herring, and then you've got Jordan Ross. I think Tennessee's deepest, Tennessee's most talented position group on the roster right now, in my opinion, is the Leo position. and then probably wide receiver. And I know wide receiver was not great last year. Oh, defensive line too. That's up there. That's a given. But I mean, Tennessee's Leo position goes along with the defensive line, but it's really, really deep. I mean, James Pierce, we're talking about him being maybe a number 1 overall draft pick in 2025. Joshua Joseph's a lot of positive buzz this offseason about how he's put on some weight and he's added, he's ready to roll and be a contributor, big time contributor. And, Caleb Herring says, reports are that he's over 250 pounds. And that's really, really good because he was kind of a stick when he got here on campus. And we know that Tennessee plays multiple Leos at one time. And that's really, really important. So Jordan Ross, I think, is going to be a really good player. He'll play special teams and maybe he'll have a small role on defense and pass rushing situations from the get-go. But Jordan Ross is on campus, and I think eventually he's going to be a really good player, but behind the 8 ball a little bit, okay, because he was not an early enrollee. Joining Jordan Ross, high upside offensive tackle Bennett Warren. Apparently showed up, weight about where they wanted him to be, so you can tell that he's been working and training on his own, and that's always tough because you're never going to be as good as you can be when you're training on your own than you could be, inside a strength and conditioning program with other guys pushing you. And so the fact that Bennett Warren showed up at a good weight, I think says a lot about him. So I'm excited to see what he can look like. But, offensive lineman, highly rated 4-star, 6'7", 342 pounds. Number 9 offensive tackle in the 2024 class, number 21 overall player, 21st overall player out of Texas. A guy that Tennessee wanted, was probably its best addition on the offensive line, and a really, really good offensive line class that's already been here on campus for bowl practices and spring practice. Bennett Warren's going to be added to that mix, so he's on campus. Jordan Burns, 3-star linebacker. Jeremiah Hurd, a 4-star offensive line prospect that I think is very interesting because he's 6'8", 308 pounds, and he's a basketball player. Football's still relatively new to him, but they're going to start him out at offensive tackle, so I've heard, to my understanding. Cole Harrison, the tight end prospect that Tennessee was able to get a commitment from and who committed the day before the early national signing period took off in December, and he's now going to be on campus, 6'5", 225 pounds. Colin Brazel, of course, he was from the transfer portal. We know about that. Or actually, sorry. Let me start over. Colin Brazel, he's the brother of Chris Brazel. He's the brother of Chris Brazel. Transfer wide receiver. He's the brother of Tennessee's transfer wide receiver, Chris Brazel. He committed to Tennessee in January, 6'2", 170 pounds, 3-star. I believe he's a walk-on. Maybe I'm mistaken on that. But yeah, Colin is the brother of Chris, and he's now on campus for summer practices. Carson Gentle, one of the earliest commitments for Tennessee for the class of 2024. He went ahead and committed to Tennessee in the summer of 2022? Was it 2022? 2023? I don't know. He was one of the first guys to commit to this class out of Chattanooga, where he attended McCallie High School. 3-star prospect, 6'3", 242, really good wrestler in the state of Tennessee, and now he's on campus. And then, of course, Jamal Wallace, the junior college transfer from Sierra College, 6'3", 304 pounds, 3-star JUCO prospect, number 4 JUCO player in the state of California, according to the On3 ranking. So all those guys are joining the already class of 2024 that's on campus and has been here as early enrollees. Tennessee also added 6 in-state prospects, including a preferred walk-ons and long snapper Marshall Box, defensive back Jackson Matthews, wide receiver Braylon Harmon, local prospect, linebacker Ryan Scott, local prospect from West High School, linebacker Greer Short, ETSU transfer Tommy Witten that we spoke on in segment number 2, and he's from Knoxville Catholic. He had 23 passes, 349 yards in 10 games at ETSU last season, 23 receptions for almost 350 yards. So that is the class that's on campus for Tennessee right now, and so I'm excited to see how they produce and how they come along in summer workouts. But again, some of these guys are going to be players. Just might not be in this football season. Bennett Warren's going to be a player. Jordan Ross is going to be a player. I'm excited to see what Jeremiah Hurd can do. I think Cole Harrison can turn into a really nice tight end prospect. All those guys should play, and they're here on campus, but might not be in 2024. And then finally, some guys who were on campus for official visits this past weekend. You had Texas commit Brandon Brown. You had defensive lineman from Ohio, Brandon Caesar. Of course, the headliner was 5-star offensive lineman Josh Petty. You had New Jersey edge Leo Guy and Jaden Lofton. You had Hawaii safety Aiden Mentai. and you had 4-star edge Cortez Harris. All those guys were on campus for official visits over the weekend, and it's only going to get more interactive this weekend and next weekend. I mean, on paper, you might have guys, you might have like 20 official visits on paper both weekends if they all show up. So going to be very, very busy for Tennessee over the course of the next couple of weeks for official visits. But Josh Petty came in, impressed with Tennessee. He's no stranger to Tennessee. He's been here many, many times. He grew up a Tennessee fan. I think that he wants to play with David Sanders, so I think that's kind of a thing that could get him here. But, man, you get Josh Petty to play, allow him to play inside as well at the guard position, as Tennessee's focus is more on guards and interior than offensive tackle this cycle because you have so many interior guys who are leaving the program after this year. I think Josh Petty would be a really, really good haul. And, of course, Nick Moore from Jefferson County, who will be one of those guys who are on official visits. I don't know if it's next weekend or the week after, but a couple of those guys that could play in the interior, I think that would be huge. All right, so appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Make Locked On Vols your first thing you do in the morning. Make it part of your routine. And tomorrow's mailbag edition of the show, you can be a part of it, sending in your questions, your comments, your concerns at _Cainer at Locked On Vols. And, of course, you can comment on the YouTube channel. I will do my best to try to get to all of those on tomorrow's show. We'll talk plenty of baseball. Hopefully, we're talking about Tennessee going to Omaha for the College World Series. If not, we'll still talk about all that and more coming up on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.